Well, earlier in the show, we met one of Canada's top modern-day explorers, and now joining us in the SETAC TV studio, I'm delighted to be joined by three very intrepid scientists. Thank you all, Ross, Kim and Katrina, for joining us. Thank you. So let me start by asking all of you. Ross, I'll start with you. Tell us a little bit of a resume about the kind of work you do, the kind of places you go to.
Well, I do aquatic sciences in the tropics pretty much globally. So it started by, I'm Australian and I was trained in the tropics, and then the first job that I managed to get finishing my PhD was in Papua New Guinea. So that then just started the story of my life from that point. So since then worked pretty much globally in the tropics.
And what is it about kind of working globally in those sorts of locations that appeals to you?
Oh, the cultural diversity is amazing, and just the diversity of foods as well. But you get to see ecosystems that you wouldn't see in your own space, in your own country. You get to work with people who live in those ecosystems, so it's just an amazing total experience.
Katrina, how about you? Tell us the sort of work and places you've been.
Yeah, well, I'm from Norway, so as one of the Nordic Arctic countries, I've been working a lot up in the Arctic, and that is seen as a pristine environment. We do find contaminants there, so we have a long line of research there, and I'm particularly interested in how contaminants end up there and how they are accumulated in the aquatic food webs.
And Kim, what about you? Tell us about.
Well, I'm Canadian, and I work for the Environment Canada. So I've been working here in Canada, anywhere from urban centres here with peregrine falcons breeding in the buildings right around here on the tops to the north shore of Lake Superior. I've been fortunate to work out in the oil sands, and now most recently I'm working up in the Arctic. So I've met Katrina that way, and we don't have any tropical ecosystems here, but as Ross said, I've really enjoyed seeing the diversity of beautiful landscapes I just normally wouldn't see, and meeting some really wonderful people too.
There must be quite a number of unique challenges that you face. What sort of challenges do you face? Ross, any that come to mind?
I mean, most of it's a challenge because you're often working very remotely. There's the facilities that you normally expect to have just aren't available. Modern technology is helping you take stuff with you, but when I started, you'd get dropped out of a helicopter in the middle of a rainforest somewhere with nothing but a notebook and what you needed to get the job done with. So communication has really changed over the years. Yeah. But just dealing with the circumstances of having to problem solve where you are because you can't go to a shop and buy something that you forgot.
And the climatic and environmental environment must be very difficult as well.
Of course, it adds an extra constraint when you work in a cold and at parts of the time very dark environment. But I've also been working in Africa recently, working on e-waste, and I have to say that it's quite challenging to work there as well, even if we're working close to urban sites, because you meet a whole other range of challenges than we meet in the Arctic.
And Kim, you must have come across a number of challenges too.
Well, I think I've been somewhat lucky with some of my work down in southern Canada, I'll say, where if you forget something, usually you can go to the local hardware store and pick up whatever simple fieldwork equipment you need. But going up to the Arctic where you've got a fly-in plane and you're there for a month, it's like you have to make sure you've got everything. You're hoping that the weather holds when you are going to fly in and fly out and that. So yes, there are challenges for sure.
You must, you wouldn't do this type of work if you didn't love it. It must give you a real buzz, presumably.
Yeah.
Yes.
We all know that.
That's right.
I think two of the biggest buzzes I get is actually being in the field with the animals, and then funny enough, getting my publications accepted. I still get a buzz from that. It's like, oh, good news.
But I also think that when, especially in the Arctic, we see that the work we do directly feeds into international regulations,
yes.
And that is also an extra motivation.
Yes.
And that's something I'm thinking about when I'm standing there freezing and waiting
yes.
for
that is so
whatever
rewarding,
animal
isn't it?
I'm going to look at. Yeah.
I wonder if we could just talk very quickly, just to finish as well, just from all of you. I know one of the values of SETAC is bringing younger people on, helping students get into work. For anyone that's watching this and hearing you and thinking, really, that's the kind of path I want to follow, maybe have you all got a bit of advice for us? Anything that?
Well, I stumbled into my pathway, so I don't know that serendipity is a recommendation for a career path. But certainly being open to opportunities when they come, that's the key thing, isn't it?
Take whatever chance comes your way. If someone offers you something, even if you don't feel quite qualified enough for it, I tell my students, take it. You never know when that'll come up. And it's the same any stage of your career. I would just say take the opportunities when they present themselves.
And I'd just say that to me, working and joining SETAC from a very remote part of the world, that the network SETAC gave me was so crucial to being able to keep up to the science and to connect with people to solve problems.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to reach out and contact people, because most people are very friendly and really eager to help and give you advice.
Yeah, and I would echo what Ross said. SETAC has opened up some amazing opportunities for me. I've met some wonderful people through them and collaborators, and I think that's open to anyone and everyone. Students for all levels.
Well, we'll have to end it there, but thank you all of you for joining us from your various corners of the world, and enjoy the rest of the meeting.
Thank you.
SETAC TV is brought to you from the SETAC North America 40th Annual Meeting. Make sure that you watch all the fantastic interviews and reports that we've been gathering here at the annual meeting on our YouTube channel.